everybody. Welcome along to this edition of SportsView on LearMedia.tv. And as you can see from the bottom, ticker tape, press the red button to subscribe to our channel, and our email is info@LearMedia.tv for your emails and your comments. Good evening, Joe Waters, and welcome again.
Good evening, Pat. Good evening, lads.
Bonjour, Derwin, and welcome again to the show. And good evening, Derwin. Good evening, John Nunnigan, and welcome again, John. Nice to see you again now.
Great to see you, lads. Great to see you all again.
We may have one or two more joining us later. I don't know. They're out and about. They might be back. But anyway, we'll do it. I suppose we're going to look at soccer, obviously, the World Cup, because, I mean, it's down to the last four. Could we ever repeat of the 2018 World Cup final? Well, it's looking that way. We'll have a look at Rugby Union. The European Cup started this week, during the week. And we'll have a look at boxing. I was looking at boxing over the weekend. And golf as well, if we get to that. But first of all, I mean, obviously, we have the four quarterfinals were on during the week since we were here last. And you could say there was maybe one or two, maybe two surprises with Brazil and maybe three. I mean, if you're from England, you could say Brazil, Portugal, and England and Argentina would be picked as the four winners, and maybe France. I was a 50-50 match. Anyway, Derwin, we go to you first, Derwin, and we start obviously with England and France, because I thought it was a cracking match, and it was just on hindsight is a great thing. Now we can look back and say they should have done this and they should have done that. But nevertheless, I mean, the buck stops with the manager of the England team. He's failed again with them. He failed in the European final with him. He played in the Nations Cup. And I think it's time for him to go down, is it?
I think it's 50-50 over here. You've got half the population saying time for the move on because he's not very sort of attacking, or he seems to be too defensive sometimes. Then you've got the other half. Well, if you look at the track record over the last few years, it's been pretty good. If you say getting to certain stages, it is a result. But I thought the other night, let's not keep blaming the referee, even though he was rubbish. England didn't really perform as good as they could do.
No.
And I think there was a couple of... The speed thing about France was always going to be an issue. I thought Stones played well.
But Dermot, did you not think that I thought Walker did a superb job? A superb job for the whole match on Mbappe.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think he kept Mbappe quiet.
Did you? He did.
So I think Shaw was caught out a few times, just diving in a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah,
and I think
true.
Stones was good. I think Maguire was a bit of a weak link at the back, but we said that last week.
We did. And is there any outstanding back to take his place? There surely must have one more back in the whole of English football.
Well, I think maybe, I don't know if Ben White, possibly. There's got to be.
John, did you see the match?
I did. I was just thinking there what Darwin said. Everyone was on about keeping an eye on Mbappe, but I think England overemphasised that, and the man who ran the show was Griezmann.
Yeah.
And if Southgate had picked Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, I think they would have won the game, because one of them would have picked up Griezmann and it would have left the other free, and I think they would have. I think that's my personal opinion. I think he.
Oh, that's interesting.
His substitutions were, you could actually read them from here. I mean, Saka was destroying the fullback, and why he brought Sterling on totally beat me. I just couldn't. I was amazed to see Sterling coming on.
I think when you look at like Croatia and you look at Modric, England does not have someone who's a creator in that middle of the field.
Yeah.
You know, they all run around and they all do a job, but there's no one. You know, when you watch Modric play for Croatia, he controls the whole of that middle part of that game and the passing and everything else. And if you look at all the successful teams so far, they've all had good middles.
Yeah.
Griezmann, Modric.
Yeah.
You know, even if you said Messi, because Messi kind of plays more of that role now than he does
Yeah.
up front, shall we say. But, you know,
he's
Morocco, for me, have got there on just hard graft and a bit of luck.
And Joe, did you see that match, the England-France match? What did you make of it?
I did. You know, to be honest, I didn't think Mbappe caused England that many problems, really. And, you know, Shaw, for not being the greatest defender in the world, I thought did a pretty good job on Dembele. He worked him pretty well. I mean, I think Harry Maguire, if you take out the winning goal, Harry Maguire was pretty solid in what he was doing. And, you know, what John says is exactly what Gareth Southgate has been getting ripped a new one for the past 2 years, playing two defensive midfielders. And, you know, and they're saying, well, why are we not using our attacking players? And then Darwin is talking, and there's a guy on the bench that James Maddison that doesn't even see the field, that has the vision of a Luka Modric. I'm not putting him in the same category as that, but he is a player that can pick a pass out. He's a guy that can play from deep, and he can take people on. He can shoot, and he can pick a pass out, just the same as Messi's pass for the first goal for Argentina. So I think that they had their opportunity. They had the people that they could have brought into it, and they just didn't get the right ones on the field at the right time.
You're 100% right, John.
Like John said, Griezmann, I mean, from day one, every one of us has watched Griezmann run the show in the middle of the field, right? Every one of us. We knew what he was doing. He's picking the ball up deep, and he's running at people. He's going one side or the other, and he's picking out passes. And really, I mean, at some point, why are you not saying to your defensive midfield player, you go man for man in the middle of the field, Declan Rice, you stick to him like you know what, and do not let him get on the ball. And that will shut them down practically immediately.
Yeah.
You know, and like I talked to Darwin earlier, you know, to me, Jordan Pickford had a howler for the first goal.
Yeah.
I have no idea what he's thinking or what he's looking at. He doesn't move his feet. He goes from a standing dive to try and get across and doesn't make it. And it was just unfortunate, really, because I thought England played pretty well. You know, they gave as good as they got. They had their opportunities. They possibly, you know, the foul on Harry Kane in the box was the original penalty. That should have been the first one. They should have had three, really. So I think that they had the chances in spite of just a couple of adjustments that would have helped them get over the line on it.
But that's why I was saying, Joe, sorry, no, lads, that's why I was saying he picked the wrong. They were so worried about Mbappe that they took the eyeball off of Griezmann, right? Since you made a very good point, Joe, there regarding Griezmann, right? Griezmann has only started to run the French team since Pogba hasn't been playing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So they needed somebody in there to stop Griezmann. And you're bang on regarding James Maddison. He needed to bring on, in my book, James Maddison and Calvin Phillips to mark Griezmann, and that would leave Declan Rice to do the rest of the donkey work in midfield, and James Maddison to take over that hole in the middle.
Yeah.
He didn't need a winger for a winger. I mean, he takes off Foden, he takes off Saka. To me, it baffled me. And I think you're right regarding Madison.
I could see him taking off Saka and them in a group match, but this was a one-off knockout game where you throw every single thing. I mean, Harry Kane's missed penalty was shocking as well, Joe. What do you think of that?
Well, you know, it's such a difficult thing. You know, I mean, the pressure is it's so massive, especially at a competition like that. You know,
against his own goalkeeper.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, I've been in that position before. I used to take penalties at Grimsby, and I remember, you know, we got 2 penalties in the first 3 minutes of the game, and I took the first one and I hit the post with it. I hadn't touched the ball. I took the second one and I scored with it. You know, and it's like, and other times I've had 2 and I've managed to score them. But the mind games that are going on, and you know, the irony of the whole thing is that Lloris and Kane are on the same club team, so they see each other practically every week doing their thing with it. So, you know, so Harry Kane feels like he has to do something that really is not like him to do that. I mean, he is usually Mr. Reliable from that. So I just think it's one of those things that it just got to him. I mean, to have the courage to step up and take the second one is outstanding. Yeah. I mean, and he'll probably never be forget about it.
I agree with you there, Joe, but again, it comes back to you played the game higher than level than I ever did. But if you're playing against somebody who knows your game inside out, Hugo Lloris obviously knows Harry Kane well. I think Kane should have handed the responsibility to another player, because if they had scored that, the possibility it would go to penalties, and then Harry Kane would have his second option of taking a penalty. Do you understand? Like, you know what the pressure is. The pressure is mighty, and on someone like that, I just had this feeling that when Kane took the ball for a second one, I thought he's not going to score here. Yeah. He's going to have to change his mind because Lloris was eyeballing him. Whereas if to somebody else came on and took the penalty, i.e. Rashford or whoever else was on,
no,
Lloris would have been second guessing.
Yeah, we move swiftly on to the other 3 quarters. The Dutch and Argentina match, Derwin. Did you see that match?
I watched all of them. I mean, we had Morocco out, we had France out. Well, I did after it. I mean, my punditry is crap.
Now, did you see the Dutch and Argentinian match? To me, the referee lost control of that match and allowed Argentina to get away with pure murder. That's the way I saw the match.
But did you notice? I'm sure you've all noticed. I think the press picked up on it, but they didn't make much of it. Messi was in the referee's ear from start to finish because Messi was in Spain for most of his life, and that referee was Spanish. And you look at, I think it was a halftime, Messi had a conversation, him going off the pitch at halftime.
Yeah, he waited for him in the middle of the pitch and walked off with him.
Yeah. And like nobody else, I was very surprised Van Gaal didn't pick up on that.
Well, I thought the Dutch had the momentum when they went into extra time, because from being 2 goals down to come back lads, that was a genius of a free kick. You must admit.
That was absolutely brilliant.
That was just fantastic.
It really was. But you know, the irony of that game, and you lads tell me what you think, right? The Dutch, all of a sudden, they're 2-0 down, and they go gung ho. They throw 2 big guys on up front, and they're putting balls in the box. The Argentinians drop off and allow them to get on the ball and get their defenders on the ball, and be able to get it wide to get crosses in. And then in the extra time, the Argentinians go back to keeping possession of the ball, which if they'd done at the end of regulation, they would have sauntered through to it with a 2-0 lead. And then the Dutch stopped putting the ball in the box. They started trying to play again.
Yeah.
And now I'm going, this is just work for you. These guys are on the ropes totally. They couldn't handle the two big guys up front.
Yeah.
Everything that came in there was, I mean, it was only a matter of time before Otamendi gave a penalty away. Because he was just panicking like mad to try and get on the end of it. He knew that he wasn't going to win those. So I just felt that both teams, if the Argentinians had done the possession thing and said, okay, we're going to keep the ball away from them. End of story. We'll play keep away and we'll see it out. And then the Dutch continue what they were doing afterwards. But, I don't know if any of you have seen it or you followed up on it or what have you, but there was I lost a lot of respect for Messi during this game and at the end of it.
I agree.
At the end of the game, he's doing an interview, and Weghorst, who scored the 2 goals, is standing waiting, and I'm not sure if he was waiting to speak to somebody or if he was waiting to do an interview for one of the stations. But Messi turns to him and says, "What are you looking at, fool?" I mean, that's disgraceful.
Yeah,
it is.
That is absolutely.
You must remember now, Down, before you come in, Argentina are always on the edge, and they were very, very nasty in many World Cups. Nasty team. They can play soccer. They've kicked a lot of teams out of the World Cup, literally. And they got away with blue murder, in my opinion. And I'm not being jealous of them winning or anything.
There's nothing classy about Mizzo. If you saw the reaction of the penalties, but they didn't even run forwards; they ran sideways to
the Dutch
players.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you kind of go, "There's no class, is there?" I mean, there's winning and win. We all want to win. We've all played sport. We all want to win, but you don't win ugly. You even if you win ugly, you still go over and shake hands with them.
Of course you do.
Well, and that's the thing with it. At the end of it, it's all over. The things that bothered me in that, Messi's handball that he doesn't get pulled on.
Yeah, what's that about? I mean, why doesn't he get pulled?
But then, what about, was it Paredes that wins the tackle and then boots the ball at the
bench,
at the Dutch bench? That's a red card.
Yeah,
in itself, that's a red card. And he doesn't get a second yellow for it.
But that's where Messi's talking to the referee. That's where I think he influenced the referee. He totally, I mean, just take it. Any one of us, right, standing on the side of the street, and Lionel Messi comes over and starts talking to you, you're going to lose your senses.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're going to be distracted,
Yeah. You're going to. Whoa, what's he talking? He's talking to me, and he's, And the referee then looks up at the big camera, the big screen, and he sees a picture of himself and Messi walking off, Here am I with one of the best players in the world.
You're my equal, Psychological, it's all psychology.
It's interesting as well when you get the sort of South American refs in a European game where there's 2 European teams. I find that interesting as well because it's a whole different mindset to refereeing a South American game to a European game to an African game. And I know they mix it up everything, but you'd think, it works in the Premier League, doesn't it? They're just referees. They support football teams, don't they?
Yeah. I have to say, Michael Oliver done a great job when he was referee.
Oh, I thought so as well. And he's gone home, and the Brazilian guy is still there.
Oh God!
I don't understand the sense.
If the Brazilian, there won't be a Brazilian ref between Argentina and Croatia. Surely, be the goodness, they'll hardly appoint a Brazilian ref between Argentina and Croatia. It's simply fine. But the Portugal Morocco match, I thought it was very poor of the 4 quarterfinals, I thought that was the poorest one, Darwin. Did you see that? What do you think of it?
Yeah, you got to give Morocco credit for running around like lunatics and just keep on going, didn't they? I mean, they got through on graft. They didn't get through.
They had more will to win. They had
Yeah.
more will to win than Portugal did, and that's why they won.
Now, I must say one thing here. I've been a huge, and I still am, of Ronaldo. I think if you have a player like Ronaldo playing against Morocco, who are the minnows in the team, you put him on at the beginning because his presence on the field would put pressure on Morocco straight away. Every time he got the ball, they'd feel under pressure. In my opinion, there's no point in bringing on the man with 10, 15 minutes ago. Bring him on in the start, run himself into the ground for a half hour, and that's it. I don't understand the thinking of that, I don't know.
I think the problem with Ronaldo now, probably over the last 2 years, there's too much politics with him, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's too much of his ego running the show.
Yeah, but if his manager is running the team, that's fine, and he can make his point. But in a knockout match, you can swallow your bloody pride and put on your best.
But Pat,
Joe, the proof of the pudding is they got no goal against Morocco, who are just a journeyman team, in my opinion.
But then, it'd be just as easy to turn around and say, if he hadn't played him from the start and he played the young guys, would they have scored? You can play the what ifs all day.
Yeah.
The one thing that we all know for sure, and we've talked about it for a few weeks now, is that Cristiano Ronaldo is not the player he was.
No.
And the logic in what they were doing makes sense to me.
I agree.
They knew Morocco were going to defend like the blazes, and they were going to run till they dropped. And then they were going to bring Ronaldo on and give him his time when they were tired and hope that he would make the difference at that point. And in the hope, belief that their younger guys were going to make things happen for them in the first part of the game. And then it would have been, it would all bets would have been off at that stage. But, it's just one of those things that Portugal, for all their talent, look like they really don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at Bruno Fernandes. I mean, his body language when things don't go for him is absolutely,
shambolic.
Yeah. If he was one of my teammates, I feel like slapping him on the back of the head. Come on, man, get a grip.
You give him a Will Smith. John, what do you think of Portugal? Or disappointing overall?
Well, I actually thought they were going to win it. The quality they have on the pitch, if you look player for player, quality. But I'm always saying in any sport, if the opposition that you have wants to win more than you, they're going to win it. Joe, you've been involved in cup upsets. You've been involved in non-league teams beating Premier League teams. And the reason is that you cannot take your eye off the ball. You cannot relax. This is a one-off knockout game. And I think the way the manager picked Ronaldo to come on, I think that was the right decision. The man is too old now. He might be okay for...
Yeah, but Pepe was on for the whole match, and he's 39.
Yeah, but different game, different player, different type, different part of the game.
And different position.
That's what I mean, different part of the game, man.
Yeah, and he nearly got a goal, Pepe himself.
Yes, he did.
He was unlucky.
He was very unlucky. The other quarterfinal was Croatia and the dancing masters, as Roy Keane called them, the samba dancers from Brazil. Roy Keane was giving out mad on ITV when they beat South Korea.
Even they're doing his jig.
I mean, really. I mean, they didn't win any fans for their behaviour in that match against South Korea, and they got their comeuppance from Luka Modric, the amazing Luka Modric, and I'll tell you, they have 5 or 6 more players on that team who are just fantastic. Croatia, to me, could go the whole way. Derwin, what do you think? Are they the World Cup winners?
Well, I hope they do. I hope they beat Argentina.
Oh, I
I mean,
hope they beat Argentina.
I think they will.
I hope they
I
win
think
it.
they will.
To be honest, because I think they that's a whole team of individuals who gel as a team, and they put. To me, I don't think they've got egos. They put the egos in the locker and leave them there, and they pick them up later.
Yeah.
Whereas
They
you
play
look at Portugal, you've got a team of egos running around.
Yeah.
If you look, Brazil to me looked ordinary, really. If you took, what's his name out the front, Richarlison,
Charleston, yeah.
he looks like a good player, but he doesn't look that good in the Premier League, does he?
No.
He's not a world class player, for God's sake. Will he go away? I think he's a waste of time myself. I mean, you take out the South Korea match, which was a practice match for Brazil, with all due respect to South Korea. Sure, he did nothing in the World Cup.
But I didn't think Neymar looked that good. I didn't look at Neymar and go, wow.
Well, yeah.
Again,
you have the Croatian team who wanted, as you said, right? They play as a team. They leave all the egos behind, and they play for the badge. You can see it, every one of them. When they bring on the substitute, he tries even harder than the guy they took off, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
They see, Joe. Are they looking as winners, Joe?
I tell you, Croatia are.
They only have the same population as ourselves here in Ireland, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was going to say they have 4 million people that live in there. But you watch this team. All their defenders are what we would call snot-nosed defenders. They get stuck in. They don't care. They don't care if their nose is all over their face. They don't care about it. They'll come in. Yeah. They'll kick you. They'll prod you. They'll pinch you. They'll do all the things that they need to do to get you off of your game. And then they've got the likes of Luka Modric and they've got Perisic and those guys that can make things happen for them up front. Yeah. And they never stop working for each other. And Luka Modric is the epitome of a leader of a team. All of those players absolutely adore him because they know that he's going to work as hard as he possibly can. Yeah. And they'll work for him when he's taking his rests because he has to do it at his age. But they are a team that will just lay down for each other. And they not only have the skill set, but they have the mentality as well. They have the psychological side of it where they're good at penalties. They're outstanding at penalties. They've won now, 4 in the final stages of the World Cup. You know, that's amazing. So I wouldn't be betting against those boys as they're moving forward.
And that's why I think they're going to give Argentina a good hard game. If the Argentinians want to come out and try their dirty stuff, the Croatians will handle that no problem.
Absolutely.
And that's where it goes back to your point, Pat, at the start, you know.
Yeah.
The Croatians can do that.
Perisic looks great out on that left wing, doesn't he?
Yeah, world class. No, a class act, as someone said here on some of the panels. SportsView support on their media.tv, tell all your friends about us. Press the red button to subscribe to our channel, and these are going across there. It took me a long time to get that working this evening, but I hope it's working all right. But we'll come back to the World Cup in a sec. We'll just do a bit of. Well, as we said in the World Cup, Saka has emerged as a decent world-class player potential, and Ronaldo, to sad to go that way, but he's given fantastic service to soccer and to Portugal as well. Who knows what's in store for him? Joe, Grimsby beat Tranmere.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, 2-1 in case got lost in the World Cup. I kept an eye on all of those. The championship is hotting up in Britain. It's halfway through, lads. In the championship, I love watching the championship on ITV. It's real soccer. And top of the league after 22 games, halfway through, is Burnley, and I love their style. I said in the start that I think they'll get promotion straight up, and well, they're on top of the pile, 44 points. Sheffield United 41, Blackburn 36, and Norwich, Watford, Preston, Millwall, Reading, QPR, and Swansea. They've all been up and down to the Premiership anyway, so they're up there halfway through, and I think Burnley and Sheffield United are really looking good. I don't know about Norwich or small club coming up again. I don't know. What, have you
Blackburn had a tough weekend, didn't they? Didn't they lose 4-1 at home to Preston?
They did, yeah, but Blackburn are 36 points. They're in third place, and Preston are 34. They're just blown. So it's very. Sunderland are in 9th place with 30 points. So there's really the top 12. I'm looking at it. The top 12 or 14 teams are capable of making an effort to get promoted. So I think it's not getting enough coverage. I love watching. Did you catch any of it, Derwin? Or were we all suffered out from the World Cup?
No, I've just been World Cup focused.
Now the European Cup in rugby started over the weekend, John and lads, and well, we had a match here in the fog in Limerick, down here where we were broadcasting from yesterday, and disappointing for Munster. They were beaten by Toulouse. They were beaten 18-13. John, did you see that match at all?
No, I did not. I actually forgot all about it until it was all over.
I was Keith Ellis came on with the last 15 minutes, but he couldn't do much about it because, I mean, obviously, Toulouse played, in my opinion, within themselves. I know it's a cliche, but they did, and they didn't seem to be stretched enough. I think they could have stepped up more. That's my opinion, you know. But, I mean, obviously, Montpellier beat London Irish. Leinster beat Racing 92, 42-10, you know, which was really...
That's some result.
That's some hammering against Racing 92, and they're second or third in the top 14. I think they might be leading. The holders, Ronan O'Gara's team, La Rochelle, had a handy win over Northampton, 46-12, La Rochelle. So they won't get seriously get out of the group stage, but they're looking well as well. It's looking like a La Rochelle Leinster final again at this early stage. I don't know. The Ospreys, the Bulls, I was just reading today, I think they've taken John Ryan from under the nose of Munster before they could re-sign him. I think he's gone to the Bulls as far as I know. And then they beat Leon 42-3. So, I mean, they are a team to watch. You know, they've been around the rugby championship now, the URC for a while. It's the teams from South Africa, and they're making serious inroads, both in rugby wise and in terms of recruiting players as well. And you didn't see any rugby, Joe, did you?
No, we didn't get any rugby here this weekend.
We'll move swiftly down to boxing because I was watching a bit of that. It looks like I was doing nothing over the weekend, but I had a cup of tea. I had a cup of tea in between. I had a bowl of soup. I had a roll or two, and then I went back to poor old Warrington he lost his featherweight title to Lopez of Mexico over 12 rounds, and one judge gave him a draw, but
that was the English judge.
Yeah, he did. He did lose the fight. You know, there's no doubt about it. He gave away 5 or 6 rounds. You know,
he was too tentative in the first 6 rounds. I think if you look at the fight again, he got in the first 20 seconds, he got a straight jab into the nose, and I'm sure it broke his nose. He was forever covering up for the next 3 rounds. Then he couldn't take the punch, you know.
His breathing, I know they didn't get his breathing right for a couple of rounds, you know, because obviously.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I mean, I reckon he broke his nose in the first. And if you remember, I think in the last fight that he won, he broke his jaw, but he still won the fight. So I think in his head, mentally, he was afraid of getting another broken jaw, or he knew the pain of a broken bone, and he was just trying to protect himself. Because when he came on in the second half of the fight, when he started to do what he was supposed to do in the first half, he definitely looked a better fighter.
He did. I only gave him 3 rounds out of 12, and maybe.
No, I gave him probably 5 out of the last 6.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll differ on that. We'll toss up. But he lost his title anyway. Michael Conlon destroyed your man in the first round. He's in the same division as Warrington, as you know, Michael Conlon. I thought Anna'd be here tonight now because I wanted to ask her a bit about Michael in his amateur career. But anyway, he won in the first round and over a journeyman professional. Really, the people hadn't taken their seats and the fight was over. You know, it's all over the first round. But Conlon is determined to win the title again, and I think he probably. Terence Crawford won the welterweight. Did you see him at all in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, where the fight was? Joe, that's a good bit away from you. That's on the other side of the country, is it?
It's the other side of the universe.
It is. Have you ever been in Nebraska?
No, but my wife has.
Yeah.
Our people are from Nebraska,
and she came back. She came back, did she?
Yeah, she took our 3 daughters with her, and it was it was quite the trip.
Yeah,
quite the trip.
My goodness me! Did she drive from Seattle to Nebraska?
No, they flew, but then they had to. Where did they? Her family are out in the country in Nebraska. Of course, everywhere is the country in Nebraska. So, but she had to drive from the airport to get there through snow. And the only restaurant in town was the petrol station with what you can get there.
The Outback.
You can get a hot dog and a chicken wing and stuff like that. So that was their dinner one night.
Look, once they're hot and there's loads of gravy, you can eat what you like. No matter asking what it is. Is it hot? Is there gravy? That's fine. I'll have that. I'll have that. You know.
Joe's not going to get that Nebraska tour guide job, is it?
No, I'm going to leave that. That one is going to go with the Arkansas one. I went over to Arkansas to see my daughter. She was playing soccer over there in, oh God, what was the name of the place? She was at a college over there. And there were, it was actually a Little Rock we flew into, but then we had to take a 3-hour car ride from Little Rock down to where she was at. And you know, when you see one of those signs on the side of the road and it said last opportunity to buy beer, you should always stop and do it. Because when I got down to where we were going, I found out that it was a dry county. That was my. I've never seen so many small churches and Confederate flags in my life. It was absolutely unbelievable.
As you know, the real capital of America, Joe, as you know, is Richmond. You know that, don't you?
Oh yeah.
That reminds me of coming out of Raleigh Airport and driving to Pinehurst, right? It's about a 2-hour drive in North Carolina. And I got off the freeway and I had about an hour and a half to drive now to Pinehurst. And I drove through what I only could describe to a mate of mine on the phone that I've just driven through the set of Deliverance. Honestly, I was bursting for a poo, and I was like half my poo, and there was like boys on rocking chairs on the veranda of the petrol station.
Fantastic.
And that ain't a place for a boy from Wembley, so I'll keep on going.
And no screaming now, please. That was the screeching of tires.
Yeah, I just remembered the name of the place where my daughter's school was. Batesville, Arkansas. that gives it away right there, right?
Yeah, the Bates part.
It had a small motel there, but it didn't go anywhere near.
I was going over we were on to boxing there, yeah. SportsView is the program in case you're watching in late and you know what we're on about. And we'll be coming back to the World Cup before we finish again. And there was a bit of golf over the weekend. Young Stridham won the Alfred Dunhill in South Africa. Darwin, did you see any of that? Gary Hurley.
No, I didn't see it, but Leopard Creek is someplace.
Gary Hurley, I was watching bits because Gary Hurley on highlights says he won his card there 2 or 3 weeks ago again, you know. He's European Tour card, he's one of the...
It's a good event, that, Daniel.
Yeah. He won -18, he won at -18. Gary Hurley was -6. He was in the top 30, got a few bob for himself, 73, 68, 71, and 7. Thomas Bjorn won on the Legends Tour.
Yeah.
Did you see that? And -20. My God, he's on fire, as they say. 68, 61, and 67. Turning back the clock, Thomas Bjorn.
It plays at about just over 6,000 yards. That does. So it's.
Was it a pitch and putt course? Was it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Now the Legends Tour finished up, and James Kingston was finished in first place, and I hadn't heard this man's name for ages. Addison De Silva. He was he was runner-up. That's a blast from the past. Philip Price was third, Paul Lawrie was fourth, and Joachim Hagman, I remember him now. Joachim Hagman was finished fifth in the Ordinary. They're still not around. So I suppose it's a game for all ages anyway, you know. But it was nice to see Thomas Bjorn when he again, because I always liked him.
Oh, lovely, yeah. Great to see him.
Character. Did you know him personally, Darwin?
Yeah, I've played with him a few times.
What kind of he strikes me as a type of Irish wit about him, is he?
No.
No?
No, Pat.
Is he deadly serious?
No, Pat. It's closer to Goebbels than it is an Irish wit.
We're not one bit of politically correct on this show. Anyway,
cut that one out, Barry. Allegedly, by the way.
Allegedly, he said it. I heard it. He said allegedly. Now we'll go back to the World Cup because we have the 2 semi-finals coming up Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday. And by this time, when we're on the air next week, it'll be all over. Anyway, the World Cup, that is. Where's the next one being held?
America, isn't it?
3 years time.
Yeah, the US. Yeah. Well, it's the US, Canada,
Mexico.
Mexico.
Well, Jesus, they'll be flying all over. They'll be flying all over the place.
I'll bet with you now. England get Mexico at altitude.
Yeah, no.
In Mexico City.
They get him in Batesville. They get him in Batesville.
I'll have a bet with you now. One of the English players gets done for nicking a bracelet.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I dislike about this World Cup, I like the soccer, obviously. I totally dislike, probably the first World Cup I remember was 1966. I remember that. And it was a black and white TV. We watched it on black and white TV in our neck of the woods anyway, growing up. And I remember 66. And I've seen almost every World Cup since then. But this one, in my mind, has been the most sanitized of all the World Cups I've ever watched. The control of the coverage, it should never again be in a country like Qatar from that respect. The control of the coverage of the matches themselves are just shocking, sanitized. They don't show very few replays. They show very few dirty tackles. You know, the way you'd see a tackle again on a instant replay when the commentators are talking about something that's happened, and no replay at all. None. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed a couple of those. I noticed early on when the US scored that second goal against Iran just before halftime, there was no review of that. There was nothing happened there. And then the things like we talked about there, earlier, the Argentinian one where the guy whacks the ball into the Dutch bench. Yeah. Doesn't look like that there was any review of that carried out with any.
No, there was no replay of that. There was no replay of some of the shocking two-legged tackles. I mean, a two-legged tackle, lads. I think a two-legged tackle is a red card.
Automatically, yeah.
Automatically, yeah.
You know, and there was there should have been 2 French players got the line in that match against England, Griezmann and the back that took out the English player. They should have got red cards.
Griezmann should have gone, yeah.
Oh, he should. He was on 14 yellow cards in my book by the time the match was over. You know, well, 7 yellow cards in my book, but he got one, and the
I
other
had
6 were
down
let
to
go.
4 players in that go.
Huh?
I had France down to 5, or I was hoping.
That was good, the other way. But seriously, all jokes aside, it's such a serious competition, and the standard of officials at that has been very poor for the showcase tournament in the World Cup.
But it looks totally political. It looks from the very start it's been about money, and the refereeing. I mean, the appointment of referees, as we mentioned a while ago, Michael Oliver gone home, and you still have that Brazilian referee there. I mean, that to me, it's just the politics that goes on, and it's crazy. I mean,
just
it's
as we're talking about just before icon of the World Cup, that's what we're talking about, as. But we have something to share for our viewers on this. This is the referee that you're referring to, this Brazilian referee.
Yeah,
I think this man did a fantastic job. He doesn't deserve any of the hate he's receiving online. Granted, some of his decisions were questionable, but ultimately he has defied all the odds to become the first blind man ever to referee at a World Cup. That's our little eulogy to the referee. So we can put
I
that.
think that is brilliant. When I saw it yesterday, I can't stop laughing at it. I think it's fantastic.
I got pinged that, John, about 10 minutes after the whistle
Yeah?
on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it was like, Jesus, how fast was that? That must have been prepared.
Yeah, I picked that up from your page, Joe, and of course we're talking about Saka, and he's been the star. Obviously, Darren, he's been the star of the English team, for my mind. What do you think?
I don't know really. I thought Henderson did well.
Yeah.
To be fair to Henderson, and he's plays for Liverpool. It's really hard for me to say that out loud, but I thought he did really well considering.
So who were I know it's funny hard now.
I thought Stones was good.
Yeah.
I thought Henderson was good.
Rice was average. He wasn't dominant at all, but he was he was consistent.
Up front, I don't know really. I don't think none of them really fired up, did they?
No, I agree. Yeah, that was their problem.
I think the 6-goal thing against Iran was a bit of a false dawn.
Just like the Brazilian match against South Korea, another false whiplash for them.
Yeah, I think that was, to be fair, I think that was, you'd expect England to beat Iran.
Yeah.
Are they? I mean, apart from Saka up front, are England, Joe? Would you say are England deficient of forwards, strikers?
I don't think they're deficient, but when you take a Harry Kane out of there, and there's really nobody else to put in there. I mean, they don't have another top class centre forward. I don't think that they can put in there. You have the likes of Phil Foden and Mason Mount and James Maddison, all guys that are terrific players in their own right. And I think they have the players to do it. It's just, I mean, it's such a fine line when you play at these games, between winning and losing. It's and you can pick holes in what people are doing and what have you. And ultimately, I mean, the manager has to make decisions, and he stands and falls by his decisions. But my only thing with him, and I had two things that I talked about. Jordan Henderson is a fine player, but you don't bring Jordan Henderson into a game when you're 0-0 and you're trying to win a game. That is not his skill set. He is not that kind of a guy. And then you have a guy like Maddison that is on the bench and is just chomping at the bit to get out there and doesn't get the opportunity to get out there. And that would be the only thing I'd question on it.
Joe, sorry for putting across you, Joe, before I forget it. Why would you bring a player to the World Cup and not play him?
Well, you see, you can only play 11, right?
I know that.
But I think, going back to the original thing, I think England haven't changed their game, as in they still play a big centre forward, whereas all the rest of the countries are playing, i.e., you look at Manchester City, they are now changing with Haaland up front, but Phil Foden, Aguero, all the small guys, right?
Yeah, you had Sterling as well on that.
Yeah, and that to me is but that's why I think England haven't changed. They depend so much on Harry Kane that because they have nobody else to fill that space, and they didn't change their game to fit the smaller guys in there. That's where I think it's.
Do you know? I think half the problem as well is that people have sussed out how to play England.
Yeah,
because Southgate's not sort of adventurous, is he?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I think he goes out.
I think what you're saying, Darwin, is
predictable.
they don't have creativity in the middle of the field either. You know, they don't have a creative midfield
but
player.
They had him on the bench. Madison would have done that job off the bench. And that's the problem. His changes are, you look at every game, his changes are the same. He takes off Saka for Sterling. He takes off Sterling for Saka. He takes off Mason Mount for Jordan Henderson. Harry Kane has ever taken off. He doesn't change.
It's a bit like Rashford, isn't it? He puts, where does Rashford play? He's not really a lone striker up the middle, is he?
No.
Well, Marcus
But he prefers that.
Marcus Rashford to me offered a lot more than Harry Kane.
It's a funny one, but Tony Adams commented on that a couple of weeks ago. He said that if he was playing against Harry Kane, he'd have a cigar on for the whole game.
Yeah.
Because Harry Kane drops off to pick the ball.
Yeah.
He doesn't push against the centre backs. He doesn't move up to challenge them and try to hold the ball up. He is more of a guy that drops off and picks the ball up and tries to pick people up in holes in between. And when that's not working, then what's the next plan?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you looked at the game the other night, you actually see Phil Foden trying to fall into the centre forward spot. If you actually look back at it and see what Phil Foden was trying to do on his own, taking on 4 or 5 players, drifting into the middle, but then the ball wasn't coming to him properly, and the same with Rashford when he came on, and the same with Sterling. They were playing out wide and not allowed crisscross and come inside, and all because Kane is still on the pitch.
That's a fair point, really. Now let's put ourselves on the spot on Tuesday and Wednesday. Darwin, I go to you first for the Croatia-Argentina.
Croatia.
And Joe?
I'm going Croatia as well. I think this game has the potential to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, Croatia on penalties.
I think Croatia will do it as well. I'm on one with you there. And then, of course, we have Leblanc against Morocco. Surely, Darwin, there's only going to be one result there.
Well, I know I'd love to see someone win it, but I don't think they will. So I'm going to go France.
And John?
Yeah, France, I think. Or I think it could go to penalties as well.
Joe?
I think France will come through on it, but I think that it's going to be a very, very tight game. I really do.
We're going for a repeat of the last World Cup is France versus Croatia next Sunday. At 3:00 next Sunday will be the World Cup final. And overall, lads, soccer-wise, I know it's not over yet. There's 4 matches left. 1, 2, 3, 4 matches left. But anyway, the third and fourth playoff matches are probably between Argentina and Morocco. Here's our prediction now. But what do you think yourselves overall of this World Cup in comparison to other ones? Joe, what do you think yourself?
I thought that it's been a really, on the field of play,
Yeah.
I think that there's been a lot of really good stuff. I think that, I thought about this the other day, and John, you can weigh in on this as well, and Darwin. I'm looking at some of these countries that are playing here, and I really worry about the future of Irish soccer. I mean, these countries are producing players like you wouldn't believe, and we're not doing that. And they are just coming from places that you're going, wow, that's the most amazing part of it. That for me is that I thought that there were going to be too many teams that didn't deserve to be there, and maybe there was 2 teams that didn't deserve to be there after the results and what have you.
That's a fair point, because the United States have 4 or 5 very, very, very top class good players on their team, and they can only be building from that. And to be in the States, I didn't realize, to be in the States the next time, and they will be a handful. There was a submission made recently just for people to talk about Irish soccer. Over the next 10 years, they want €1 billion invested in soccer at all levels in Ireland. That's 100 million a year. It's not a lot of money when you divide it out. 100 million a year, every year for the next 10 years, a 10-year plan. Where to go or how to go about it, I have no idea. And I think if we can see a country that has less people than we have, potentially getting to 2 World Cup finals almost now, we're talking about Croatia. They were in the last one. They could very well be in this one, with a population that's smaller than the Republic of Ireland. Look, lads, it's time to get the finger out, What do you think, John?
But the reason you look at the Croatian team, I think half of them are playing in the biggest leagues in Europe. And you look at the Irish team, and we're picking them up from Division 1. Not saying there's nothing wrong with Division 1, Division 2, but there's the difference. And, us putting all this money into the future of the game, we're playing catch up. And if they do it right, maybe in 10 years, we might be in that situation. I mean, you go back to the golden era of when Charlton was there, and pick out the team, and how many of them players were playing in the Premier League?
Nearly all of them, yeah.
Yeah, compared to what we have now, So
That's
I'm not
true,
knocking the players. I'm just saying that we're not picking from the best league. Whereas if you compare Croatia to us, their players are playing in the best leagues in the world.
Search out all the grandmothers and grandfathers of the players who are playing all over the world. Would be Joe, keep an eye out for grandmothers and all,
Well, I mean, but you look at it though. Harry Maguire, Harry Kane, Declan Rice, Jack Grealish, all could have been playing for the Republic.
They could, yeah. They could have opted to play for the Republic. That's true. Yeah. That would definitely, despite our talking about them, that would have made a huge difference to the Republic team.
Right.
It would have course, yeah.
But then you look at the other side to it, and a lot of people were talking about, but with Jack Grealish and Declan Rice, the amount of money that they'll be able to make by being a part of the England setup, as opposed to being a part of the Irish setup, is going to be night and day. So it's the French did it when they set up their center of excellence just outside Paris. Yeah. I mean, when France won the World Cup the first time, it was the 3rd sport in France. Rugby and cycling were ahead of it.
Yeah.
But now they've stuck with their academy, I think at Bloemfontein or wherever they have it there, and they're just turning these players out like you wouldn't believe. But if you look at them, a lot of these players that they're turning out they may have been born in France, but their parentage is in other countries. Their heritage is in other countries. So, they're getting the best of both worlds. They're bringing these terrific athletes and players in, and then they have a system that they're able to blend them into and help them develop. And it makes a huge difference.
It does, yeah.
Well, it's for another day, lads. Last week come to the end of another edition of SportsView. By the time we're back on air next Monday night, it will be all over, and we'll see how our predictions go. But from Derwin, from John, from Joe, and that's great to pick up that Swords in Nebraska, a good one, Joe, and myself. Until we meet again, lads. Take care and good sport. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
lads. Thank you.
Bye.